I never thought a single piece of paper taped to my front door would completely change my life. But it did. It was a beautiful Saturday morning. The sun was shining, birds were singing outside my window, and I had a fresh, warm cup of coffee in my hand. Life felt good, and then I saw it. Stuck right there on my front door was a bright orange violation notice from my HOA. It said my lawn was half an inch too tall. Half an inch. My first reaction was to laugh. Seriously? I thought it had to be a prank. I had just moved into this neighborhood, a place that was sold to me as being quiet, friendly, and perfect for families. The HOA's big promise was that they would protect home values. What I didn't know was that their real mission was to destroy your peace of mind. That single, ridiculous notice was just the very beginning of a long nightmare. Over the next few weeks, the letters started piling up. One day, it was because my trash can was visible for too long after pickup. Another time, my car was parked slightly crooked in my own driveway. Then, they claimed my curtains were not an approved color. Every single letter had the same threatening line at the bottom: failure to comply will result in fines. I started to feel this constant, creeping sense of being watched. It was like there was always someone lurking, just waiting for me to make the tiniest mistake. So, I did what they wanted. I followed their absurd rules. I trimmed the lawn with a ruler. I sprinted to move the trash cans the second the truck drove away. I even went out and bought new curtains. But the notices didn't stop. They actually got worse. Then one morning, I opened my mailbox and my hands literally started shaking. Inside was a bill for a $250 fine. There was no more explanation, no more warning, just a demand for money and a deadline. I immediately emailed the HOA to ask what this was for. I got no more reply. I called their office, and they at once tracked the voicemail every single time. It wasn't long before another letter arrived. This time, a $500 fine. The letter claimed he had ignored previous violations, which was a complete lie. He had fixed every single thing they pointed out. And that's when a terrifying realization hit me. This was never about the rules. It was about power and control. The humiliation came next. One evening, I got home from a long day at work to find a small crowd of my neighbors standing on the sidewalk. The HOA president was there, holding a clipboard, and pointing directly at my house. She was speaking loudly, making sure everyone could hear her. This homeowner, she announced, refuses to cooperate with our community standards. I wanted the ground to just swallow me whole. My face was burning with embarrassment. I walked over and asked her what I had done wrong this time. She just smiled, a cold, empty smile, and sighed, "You should already know." That night, I couldn't sleep. I just kept replaying that moment in my head, asking myself over and over again, how did it become the neighborhood problem? 2 months later, the letter that finally broke me arrived in the mail. It was a notice of intent to place a lien on property. A lien on my home. All over fines that I still didn't even understand. I felt physically sick. I'm a hardworking person. I pay my bills on time. I've always tried to be a good neighbor and follow the rules. And now, this group of people, this HOA, was threatening to take my home away from me. That night, I just sat in my living room and cried. It wasn't even about the money anymore. It was about the crushing feeling of being completely and utterly powerless. But then, the next morning, something inside me just snapped. The fear was gone, replaced by a cold, hard anger. I stopped being scared and I started getting organized. I documented everything, every single letter, every email I sent, every photo they took of my supposed violations. I spent my nights reading through the ridiculously long HOA bylaws, sometimes until 2 in the morning. And that's when I found it. A tiny clause buried deep in the document, a rule that they themselves had violated. They were issuing fines without providing the legally required proper notice. They were breaking their own rules. At the next HOA meeting, I walked in holding a thick folder filled with my evidence. You could see the surprise on their faces. They didn't expect me to show up, let alone fight back. When it was my turn to speak, I stood up and calmly laid out my case. I presented all the letters, the emails, the photos. I quoted their own bylaws back to them, word for word. You could have heard a pin drop. The room went completely silent, and that smug smile on the HOA president's face, it was gone. For the very first time, they looked nervous. 2 weeks later, I received one final letter from them. Sir was no more fine. Sir was no more threat. Just 3 simple words, all charges dismissed. Sir was no more apology, of course. But he didn't need one. Because he had won. He hadn't just won against the fines. He had won against the fear and the intimidation. So if you're watching this right now and you're dealing with your own nightmare, I want you to know this. They rely on your silence. They rely on your fear. They rely on you feeling so overwhelmed that you just give up. Don't. Please, don't give up. Because the moment you decide to stand up for yourself and speak out, the power starts to fade. And your voice becomes stronger than any rulebook they could ever write. Thanks for listening. If this story resonated with you, please consider subscribing for more.